Welcome back, story lovers. You've walked with the writer before through the lives of 5 souls he brought to life. Liam, with his childhood vulnerability, Khayal, grappling with identity, Elias, haunted by the fear of time, and others whose quiet presence lingered in our hearts. Today, we step into a different kind of story. A story born not from memory, but from everything the writer could never say out loud. A story of Myra, a woman shaped by silence, carrying unspoken emotions, noticing what others ignore, and learning to find her own voice in a world that demands noise. This is a journey of quiet strength, hidden truths, and the courage it takes to finally speak, even softly, even trembling. Today, we dive into the story of Myra, a character born not from memory, but from everything the writer could never say out loud. Before she was a character, she was a feeling. The feeling of swallowing 1,000 words. The feeling of wanting to scream but choosing silence instead. The feeling of knowing that your heart is full but your voice refuses to rise. The writer once confessed that Myra came to him during one of the loneliest nights of his life. He was sitting at his desk, pen in hand, staring at a blank page. He wasn't blocked, he wasn't tired. He was simply overwhelmed by everything he had never expressed, pain he'd hidden, emotions he had muted for years, memories he refused to revisit, and from that silence, Myra emerged. He imagined her as a woman in her late 20s, with obsidian black hair always tied loosely, as if she never had time to finish anything fully. Eyes soft and deep, carrying storms behind them, shoulders slightly bent, not from weakness, but from the quiet weight of carrying feelings alone. Myra grew up in a house where silence was the safest language. Her father believed emotions were a sign of fragility. Her mother learned to disappear inside her own quietness, and so Myra learned to speak softly. She learned to hide the trembling in her voice. She learned to smile even when her heart cracked like thin glass. But she had a gift. She noticed everything. The way people hesitated before speaking. The way someone's eyes changed when they lied. The way laughter could hide fear. She saw details others never saw, and she felt things others never dared to feel. Yet she kept all of that inside her chest, as if her heart was an archive of unsent letters. The writer shaped her carefully. He gave her a bookstore job not because she loved books, but because books didn't demand explanations. They didn't ask questions. They didn't judge. Books were safe. And the bookstore became her sanctuary, a place where she could exist quietly between shelves of stories louder than her own. But life rarely respects the boundaries we build around ourselves. One cloudy afternoon, Myra was arranging books when a journal fell from the top shelf. A blank journal, brown cover, stitched edges, untouched pages. It landed open at her feet. She picked it up, and for a moment she felt a strange pull, like the journal was inviting her to speak, to finally give shape to everything she kept buried. But Myra closed it. Her silence was stronger than her courage. She returned it to its place and walked away. That night, however, the journal invaded her dreams. She dreamed of its blank pages turning themselves, as if begging to be written. And when she woke up, her hands were trembling. It was the first crack in her silence. Over the next weeks, Myra began sensing shifts around her. A man who frequented the bookstore started leaving notes inside the books. He returned gentle messages like, "You deserve to be heard," or even "Silence has a story." She didn't know who he was, but she felt seen, and that terrified her. One rainy evening, Myra was closing the store when she heard soft crying near the entrance. It was a little boy, maybe 7, holding a torn book and wiping his eyes. "My mum's in the hospital," he whispered. "This was her favorite book. I wanted to fix it for her, but I ruined it." The boy's voice shook her, not his sadness, but the raw honesty of it. Something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. She knelt beside him and gently took the book. "We'll fix it together," she whispered, surprising even herself. They sat at the counter repairing the torn pages with tape, glue, and careful hands. And when the boy smiled again, Myra felt a warmth inside her, small, fragile, but real. It was the first time she had spoken from her heart in a very long time. After that night, something shifted in Myra. She began helping customers more. She started making small conversations. She even laughed once softly. But it was a beginning. Yet silence doesn't let go so easily. One afternoon, she found a letter inside the same blank journal she had put away weeks ago. Just one sentence was written. "Emotions grow heavy when left unspoken." Her breath froze. She didn't know who wrote it or how it ended up there. But she knew it was meant for her. Every part of her knew it. That night, Myra sat at her tiny wooden desk, opened the journal, and stared at the blank page. Her hands trembled again. Then slowly, carefully, fearfully, she wrote her first sentence. "I exist." And from that moment, her life began to unfold. She wrote about her childhood silence. She wrote about her mother's fading smile. She wrote about the dreams she locked away. She wrote about the boy with the broken book and the man with the hidden notes, and the fear inside her chest, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of speaking, the fear of being seen. Her journal became a mirror she had avoided for years. One morning, as she sat writing near the window, sunlight touched her face. She paused. For the first time, she realized something simple and revolutionary. Silence wasn't her prison, it was her shield, and she no longer needed it. That realization changed her more than any dramatic event could. She walked to the bookstore with a calmness she had never felt. She greeted people with genuine warmth. She recommended books passionately. She even shared her journal with the man who left the notes. His name was Aaron, a quiet artist who saw in her the same struggle he once survived. Myra didn't suddenly become confident or loud. She didn't transform overnight, but she found her voice soft, steady, intentional. A voice shaped by years of silence and strengthened by the courage to finally break it. The writer created Myra to express everything he couldn't say. But Myra became a reminder that even the softest voices can carry the heaviest truths. She wasn't just a character, she was healing his healing, and maybe ours too. And as Myra stepped outside the bookstore one evening, journal in hand and sunlight warming her eyes, she whispered to herself, "I'm finally here," and for the first time in her life, she believed it. And that was the story of Myra. The quiet soul born from silence, the woman who carried unspoken emotions like fragile porcelain, and the character who taught us that sometimes finding your voice doesn't mean shouting. It means choosing to speak, even softly, even trembling. Myra showed us that silence is not weakness. It is the beginning of a journey toward understanding yourself. Now, tell me in the comments, which part of Myra's journey touched you the most? Have you ever kept emotions inside for too long? And if you had a blank journal waiting for your first sentence, what would you write? Share your thoughts. Your voice matters here. Thank you for listening. And until the next character, keep discovering the stories inside you.